You know that feeling? You're on a plane, kind of wedged into your seat, and you just start wondering, why is it all set up like this? Like, who decides how much space you get, and what's with all the different classes? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and dive right into the fascinating economics of your airplane seat.
And I bet you've had this thought. Is my seat actually shrinking? Well, let me tell you, you're not just imagining things. That feeling of the walls closing in, pretty much all of us have felt that. And it's not an accident. It's actually part of a very deliberate, super high-stakes game that every single airline is playing.
Yeah, we're calling it airplane Tetris. Just think about it. Airlines are constantly trying to solve this crazy puzzle. How do you fit the absolute maximum number of people into a flying metal tube, all while trying to balance comfort, cost, and, let's be real, profit? In this game, every single inch matters. So, let's get into it. How exactly are they playing this game of Tetris? You might think it's just about making seats smaller, but oh, it's way more clever than that. Airlines are getting incredibly creative with how they find and use every last bit of space. Okay, check this out. Here's a real-world example from KLM. They've figured out how to add more seats without taking away any of your legroom. So, what they do? First, they got smarter about stacking meal trays. That simple change let them get rid of up to 8 of those big service trolleys. Then, they changed how the crew works, having them move through the cabin together, kind of like a train. And all that freed up galley space, you guessed it, it becomes room for more seats. It's seriously a masterclass in finding space where you thought there was none.
But this whole game of airplane Tetris, it isn't just about being clever with design. No, it's driven by cold, hard economics. Every single inch they save has a dollar value, and it all boils down to one fundamental principle.
And that principle is called differential pricing. Think about it. The basic product is the same for everyone on the plane, right? Getting from point A to point B. But, and this is the key, airlines know that what each of us is willing to pay for that trip is completely different. So, their whole strategy is to slice up the market to capture every last dollar of that willingness to pay. And this breaks down into 2 classic types of travelers. On one side, you've got the business travelers. They need flexibility, right? They might have to book last minute or change their plans. Their company is usually footing the bill, so they don't care as much about the price. They care about convenience. Then you've got us, the leisure travelers. We're planning our vacations way in advance, and we'll happily accept a bunch of restrictions like no refunds if it means we get a much cheaper ticket.
So you hear all this, and you see them cramming more and more of us into economy, and you'd think, okay, that has to be where they make all their money. But you might be surprised. The real profit engine of an airline, it is probably not where you think it is. So just take a second and think about it. On a typical long flight, say from London to New York, which cabin class do you think actually generates the most revenue for the airline? Is it the giant economy section, the super exclusive first class, or maybe something in between?
All right, let's just look at the hard numbers. This is from a real British Airways flight. You've got 122 seats in economy, and they bring in about $106,000. Okay, not bad. But now, look at business class. Just 48 seats, and they rake in over $322,000. Let that sink in. That is more than 3 times the money from less than half the people. Wow.
I mean, this chart just lays it all out, crystal clear. Business class is the undisputed king of revenue. It's not even close. You can see economy and first class bring in kind of similar amounts on this particular flight, but business, it's just in a totally different league. Think of it this way. The passengers in the premium cabins, who make up about 45% of the people on the plane, are generating a whopping 84% of the revenue. Now you see why those seats are so incredibly important to the airline's bottom line. Okay, so that raises a good question, right? If business class is the cash cow, why even bother with first class? Well, this quote from the chairman of Starlux Airlines is really insightful. He says it's not really about selling those seats, it's about prestige. It's a branding play. You see, high-end companies, the ones making fancy champagne or caviar, they want their products showcased in a first-class setting. It creates this halo effect that makes the entire airline look more luxurious.
Okay, so for a long time, you had this huge gap, right? You had the kind of cattle car feel of economy on one end and the absolute luxury of business class on the other. This created a massive opportunity because airlines started to realize there was a whole bunch of people stuck right in the middle.
You know, flying wasn't always this divided. If you go back to the 1950s, the golden age of air travel, that's when they first introduced this idea of a super luxurious first class. Then in the 70s, business travel just exploded, so they invented business class for that market.
But the next really big change, that didn't come along until 1992, and it was Taiwan's EVA Air that spotted a brand new type of passenger.
They saw all these people who thought economy was just too basic, but business class was way too expensive. They were looking for something that was just right. And that, my friends, is how premium economy was born. It was the perfect Goldilocks solution for anyone willing to pay a little bit more to get a whole lot more comfort.
So what exactly do you get when you upgrade? Well, it's the stuff that actually makes a real difference, especially on a long flight. We're talking wider seats, more legroom, definitely better food, a little amenity kit, and usually you get to board earlier. It's all these little things designed to make the whole experience feel just a bit more human.
And this is where things get really interesting, and maybe a little cynical. A lot of people have pointed out that what we call premium economy today feels a lot like what regular economy used to be not that long ago. So as airlines have been shrinking the standard in the back of the plane, this premium product has popped up to sell us back the comfort we used to get for a standard fare. Kind of puts it all in perspective, doesn't it?
So this whole evolution of the airline cabin, it is far from over. As our needs change and technology keeps advancing, you can bet airlines are already cooking up what's coming next.
I mean, some of the ideas out there are wild. You've got concepts like sky suites. We're talking private little rooms in the sky. Some are looking into an eco class for people who want to travel more sustainably. And then there's the really futuristic stuff, like AI-powered cabins that could literally adjust the lights, the temperature, maybe even the meal service, all based on your mood. Flying in the future could get really, really personalized.
Which really brings us to the big final question for you. We've gone from just one type of expensive seat to this super complex system of different classes and prices. The airplane cabin has always been a mirror, reflecting our priorities and what we're willing to pay for. So, I want to know, if you were in charge, what would you do? If you could invent the next airline class, what would it be?